Já, hæ, velkomin í Bergur í beinni, gaman að sjá ykkur, við erum hérna í svona litlu listamannaspjalli, ég, Bergur Þór Ingólfsson og Lee Proud.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Við förum yfir í ensku af því að you haven't got a grip on the Icelandic yet, or what?
Well, no, do you know what? At the beginning, I'm sorry I'm going to speak English, but at the beginning of the kind of lockdown, the restrictions,
Yeah.
I thought, right, I'm going to spend 5 weeks learning Icelandic.
Okay.
My partner was teaching me Icelandic.
Okay.
And I learnt how to say just maybe 2 or 3 things, which wasn't good.
Yeah.
I thought by now I'd be...
What things did you
I
learn?
learned how to say ég heiti Lee.
Mjög gott.
Mjög gott.
Já.
And björð.
Borð, já.
Borð.
Já.
And a couple of colours, but I can't.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, but our first communication
Yes.
was through Skype,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
When? 7 years ago, or?
Oh, gosh, when was it? In 2012. So 8.
Oh, 8 years ago.
8
Yeah.
years ago. 8
Yeah.
years ago.
And then you spoke Icelandic to me, you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the story, I mean, my agent rang me and I just finished doing a show called Mac and Mabel in the UK,
Yeah.
which was kind of my first choreography job. I'd done a couple of bits of choreography here and there,
Mm-hmm.
and Mac and Mabel got really, I was working on Billy Elliot as resident choreographer in London,
Yeah.
and I'd been to New York with that show, and so I was kind of a resident choreographer, which is different from a choreographer. Resident choreographer just means you're looking after
Yeah.
the choreography on that show. But it did wonders for my confidence and, teaching different people. I did it, and then I decided I wanted to be a choreographer in my own right and choreograph my own show. And I did a show called Mac and Mabel at Southwark Playhouse in London. And that got really great reviews, and I won an award for it. And I thought, gosh, maybe I can do this. And then my agent rang and he said, Lee, they want to see you for they want to interview you for a job in Iceland to choreograph Mary Poppins. And I said, wow, that sounds amazing, in Reykjavik. And I was like, gosh, that's incredible. And they said, yeah, the director is going to Skype with you on Sunday evening. He's going to Skype with you at about 5 o'clock. And I said, great. So I think this was probably about a Thursday or something. And I thought, okay, if I'm really going to impress him, I'm going to learn a little bit of Icelandic. I didn't learn a lot, I just learned how to say góðan daginn.
Yeah.
But I think you were quite impressed.
That was the first word you said, góðan
I
daginn.
said góðan daginn, and you said, do you speak Icelandic? Yeah. And I said, no, I just learned how to say hello. like good day.
Yeah.
And we laughed when you laughed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that kind of broke the ice a little bit between us.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. Yeah, I had been looking for a choreographer abroad, and you already were you were in Billy Elliot before.
Yeah, in London, yeah.
Yeah. And I asked around in London, and they told me that you were the greatest tap dancer there. So, so you probably would be our man. And also, I had the idea of involving the whole cast, because it's not it's not. When you're putting shows that like that on stage, you want everybody involved.
Yes.
And you want the actors to, dancing, and the dancers be acting, and everybody be singing. So it's not, and now there's a scene, and now there's a song, and now the dancers dance, and now the actor acts, and now the singer sings.
That's right, yeah.
So just to melt it all together, and I had that idea, and we clinged immediately there.
Yeah.
I think the decision were made on on góðan daginn.
Góðan daginn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a lot of money from learning how to say góðan daginn. Because of course now I have a long relationship with Iceland. I come back here very often to come and work and to come and choreograph.
And since then you have, in these 8 years, you have done a lot of...
Yes, well it started with Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I came to do was I think about 2 years later, I think it was Billy Elliot. Or was Mamma Mia before? No, Mamma Mia was after. Then Mamma Mia was after Billy Elliot, about a year and a half later. Yeah. I mean, I think for Icelandic people it probably feels like I'm here all the time, but I'm not. I go between here and London and Germany and Japan and So I did Mamma Mia, Billy Elliot, Mary Poppins, Billy Elliot, Mamma Mia, and then Rocky Horror, I think was my next one.
Yeah.
With Paul Oscar.
Yeah.
And then I did, after that was Matilda.
Yeah.
And then the latest one was New Leaf that I've just done.
Yeah.
And of course I've worked a couple of times in Akureyri.
Yeah, a couple of times there.
Yeah, with Marta Nordahl.
Yeah.
I did Cabaret first there. That was about a year and a half ago, and then I just did Vorivagna, the Spring Awakening, which the musical, which I loved, you know, which was great.
Yeah. How many shows have you are on? You know, before COVID. How many shows were on in the world that you choreographed?
3. I think 3. 4. I had a show on. I had Fiddler on the Roof in Copenhagen.
Okay.
And I had Ghost, the musical, on in Stuttgart in Germany, and of course New Leaf here, which had just opened.
Yeah.
And then Spring Awakening in Akureyri.
Yeah.
Vorivagna, which closed. I think that was the last time I was in Reykjavik for the closing night of that. We had the premiere of New Leaf on the Friday. And then on the Saturday we had the closing night of. So I had a show opening on the Friday, closing on the Saturday, and then another show closing on the Sunday.
Yeah, a week later.
And it's just been very strange and sad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, we're sitting in this theatre now, and all these empty seats, and all this magic, which has just been postponed for now, which I think is keeping me going. That we're going to come back bigger and better than ever.
Yeah.
And it's just been very strange for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
It's been a very strange time.
And you've worked all over the world. You've been in Sydney?
Yeah.
Where's Singapore? Isn't it? No, in
Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And New York. I've worked. I've worked on Broadway and off Broadway.
Yeah.
I've worked all over the world. Yeah. I find myself constantly dragging a suitcase behind me. Constantly
so
living out of my case.
if there is in your ventural life, the sound of it would be.
That's the soundscape to my life. Yes, that is the soundscape to my life.
Wheels of
yeah. And also the question of getting on an airplane and thinking, am I working when I get there at the other end, or can I have a Prosecco on the airplane? Yeah. Or is it too early? The too early thing doesn't normally bother me, but lots of
existential questions, really big.
Yeah, exactly. I did like 76 flights last year. So that's a lot of drinking on airplanes. Yeah, I did 76 flights last year, just back and forth because I mean, you go to a country to actually do the job. Yeah. But a lot of the time you're flying back and forth for auditions and you know various other things.
Yeah. And what is the next thing coming up for you?
I'm doing Oliver in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And that starts rehearsals in August. But we've already started in self-isolation. We've started looking at the set, looking at costumes and how the show will, what kind of story we're telling with this version of Oliver. It's a show that I really love. That really helps when you're doing a show. That's an important point, that you have to love the show you're doing. You have to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
and I'll talk about this Bubby show in a second, but certainly with Oliver, I did that show when I was 13. I was in it as one of the boys. Yeah. We've probably seen the movie of Oliver, but it's a very big British musical. Yeah. And it's got lots of children in it. But it's got just a wonderful score by Lionel Bart. And yeah, I did the show when I was 13 for Cameron Mackintosh, that production of it, which was going on for years and years.
In London?
I did the tour of it. There was a tour throughout the UK.
Okay, let's go through that for Icelandic audience. Yeah. You know how it starts somewhere off London. Well, you know, when these shows, they start somewhere. You know, you're from Newcastle.
I'm from Newcastle, which is in the northeast.
Yeah.
Every big city in the UK has 2 or 3 big theatres. Yeah. Like maybe 1,500, 2,000 seat theatres, and a show will normally either be produced to go on tour the UK, or it will be produced in the West End and then it will tour after that.
Yeah, okay.
So there's always something on. So it's, say for example in Newcastle, we have the Theatre Royal, and the Theatre Royal is beautiful Victorian theatre, really beautiful architecture. There's a very famous theatre designer called Frank Matcham, who is very prevalent in I think the well, God, I'll never remember this, 19th century. Yeah. And Frank Matcham's theatres are all over the West End in London, and of course they're all over the UK also. And the Theatre Royal in Newcastle is a perfect example of his architecture. And I always wanted to perform at the Theatre Royal from being very small, because it was the big theatre in my town, and every week I would go and see something there. From the age of about 9, as soon as I was allowed to get on a bus on my own to go into town, and what I would spend my pocket money on just on a Friday night, going to see whatever was on. So I would go and see Shakespeare, or I would go and see comedies, farces. I would go and see preferably musicals, because that's what I loved. But I'd just go and see everything, just eat it all up.
How old were you when you first were on stage?
Oh gosh, I was always kind of singing in the house and at parties from like 2 or 3 with a skipping rope in my hand. Singing and dancing.
In theatres?
No, in like parties at home and stuff. And then, but the very first show that I did, well, the very first time I stood on stage was on a proper stage was at my sister's 18th birthday party, and I was 9, and I was a horribly precocious, spoilt little child. I was the youngest of 4, but I knew what I wanted to do from that age. I was very lucky that I knew where my kind of talent lay, and my parents really helped me, which was really great. I was very fortunate to have parents who understood that I wanted to go into show business, go into the theatre and performing. So I sang a Barbra Streisand song at my sister's 18th birthday.
What song?
It was called Evergreen.
Yeah, can you give us an example?
It starts off, love soft as an easy chair, love fresh as the morning air. That's how it starts.
Okay.
I haven't got a cold, but I feel a little bit. I've been in the countryside.
No, it was beautiful.
So I got up and I sang that at my sister's 18th birthday party, and my parents were like, "Oh my God, he can sing," and I begged them to let me go to dancing classes. Okay. So I went to dancing lessons from the age of 9, just jazz dance, tap dancing, and ballet. Jazz dance is like stage dance; it's like musical theatre dancing, and ballet, which you need to have as a kind of anchor for all your dance training. So I did that, and then I did. I did my first show in a theatre when I was 11. I did a show called The Music Man, which I played a little boy called Winthrop Peru, who has a lisp, so he speaks like this. And I had a song in that called Gary, Indiana. which and that was great because it was the first time I sang with an orchestra and with costumes.
11 years old.
Yeah.
In the theatre at
This was at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle. This was a different theatre, big theatre.
Yeah.
And then I got the bug and I wanted to do more and more, and I carried on dance training. And then when I was 13, I was watching television, and there's a famous TV show in the UK called Blue Peter, children's television show. And I think it's on every day. It used to be on every day anyway. And they said on Blue Peter that they were holding auditions in London for the musical Bugsy Malone, which was going to be on in the West End. And I just literally screamed at my mum and dad, I've got to go to this audition. And they were like, oh my God, you're going to be disappointed because there's going to be thousands of other children there from London and everywhere else. And anyway, I said, please, please, please let me go. And so my mum and my grandma took me on the bus, on the coach, from Newcastle to London, which takes about 5.5 hours. And we stayed with friends of theirs in West London, and then got up early the next morning and went to the audition. I think I was there was a big queue of children when I got there. I think I was number 100 in the queue of 10,000 children.
Okay.
So there's 10,000 children auditioned for this show, and they wanted 48 children.
Yeah.
And I got through, I got in. I got through that day, and then I had to keep going back and forward down to London to audition again and again and again as they just got the numbers down to what they wanted. And then it was my 13th birthday, and that's the day I found out I got the job.
Okay.
And that was just brilliant. That changed my life really. That really, because that was my first West End show.
What part did you get?
I played a part called Lefty. He was in Fat Sam's gang. He was a boxer in Fat Sam's gang. And
how were you big?
No, I was small.
You were really small for your age.
Yeah, I was really small. All the kids, it was because I mean.
And your voice?
My voice hadn't broken.
No.
But Bugsy Malone, I don't know if you've seen the movie. You've seen the movie?
Yeah.
All the adult parts are played by children.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of fantasy world where children play the parts of adults.
Yeah, and killing each other with
scourge guns. And, with custard pies, and it was great fun. Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it. She was the lead. She was Tallulah.
She was?
Yeah.
Really?
So that was where she started as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So
and you're keeping in touch, and you.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen her since those days. But,
Lefty, are you still there? Lefty and Tallulah.
Lefty and Tallulah. There's a show there, I'm sure. But so I did that. But a lot of the other children in that show were from stage schools in London. Now, a stage school is a school where it's a specific school for performing children. Yeah. And you go in at 9 o'clock, and from 9 till lunchtime, you do normal school classes, you do normal lessons, geography, French, maths, English, art, history, the normal curriculum. Then after lunch, you have ballet, singing, tap dancing, voice production till 4 o'clock, and you have that every day. And so all the kids were coming from those schools in London. There were like 3 famous schools. There was Sylvia Young, the other one was called Corona, Corona Academy, and Italia Conti. And Italia Conti was the most famous one, and it was the one I wanted to go to. So after Bugsy Malone finished, you're only allowed to do a certain amount of months' work in England as a child. UK child labour laws are very strict. So at the time, you were only allowed to work for 3 months. And I did 3 months on Bugsy Malone, and I just didn't want to go back to Newcastle, back to comprehensive school, back to a normal life. I wanted to go to a stage school where lots of my other friends in the show were from. So I auditioned for Italia Conti, and I got into that school, and I got a grant from my local council to go there.
I wish that we had, bigger production for this talk, so we could have an example. And
this is the tip of the iceberg.
I know. It would be so amazing to see you with Catherine Do you have some footages of it?
I've got pictures. There were a couple of documentaries
You
made.
and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Tallulah and Lefty together.
Yeah. There was there were I think a couple of documentaries made about it at the time. It was a big show. It was
that'd
big.
be great.
But I mean, it was a long time ago. This is how long ago it was. It was in the same theatre where Phantom of the Opera is now in London, at Her Majesty's Theatre. And that's how long ago that it was, because Phantom's been, I think that's the longest running show in history.
Yeah, okay.
So it was the show just before Phantom started there.
Yeah.
I think it ran for about a year.
Okay.
It was a very expensive show to produce with all those
And then
children.
you did a lot of shows. You were in...
Yeah, well,
you went to Sydney to do...
Well, I moved to London to go to Italia Conti, and then I left Italia Conti at 16 because I got into a West End show called Starlight Express. Which is an Andrew Lloyd Webber show about trains. It's a love story between trains, which sounds odd, but the whole cast is on roller skates. And
sounds really odd.
It's very odd, but it's a wonderful show, and I was very happy to do that show. And then I was in that show in the West End for a year, and then they asked me if I would like to go and do the show in Tokyo, and then in Sydney, and then back in the West End again. So I did that. And then
I saw because you posted a picture of you on Facebook,
looking like a drag queen.
It was great. And
that was the Starlight Express.
Did you ever come out of the closet, or you were?
Oh well, yeah. I think because I went to Italia when I went to Italia Conti. I'd obviously been in the closet in Newcastle with my family and
which is like coal miners.
Yeah, it's Billy Elliot. It's that environment. It's a very working class industrial city. It's not now. It's changed now to a massively beautiful city where lots of bars and restaurants. It's full of leisure and tourism. It's a really nice place, but it's close to the sea. But when I was growing up there, it was a very harsh, masculine place to come from, and of course, I mean, when I used to spend my pocket money on going to the theatre on a Friday, I'd have the football fans going that way to the stadium, and I was fighting through them to go and see, Gypsy or so I'm very proud of coming from there, and I've still got a Geordie accent. I've still got a Geordie accent, and I do love it. But it was very difficult for me to come out to my family.
At times.
But I did. I mean, I came out to them much later when I was about 26. But but at Italia Conti, all of a sudden, at 13, I was in this school where it wasn't. Your status wasn't valued about how much you could punch someone, or it was how high you could kick your leg, or how high you could sing, or so that raised your status. Your talent was your status, and I just loved that. It was just brilliant. It was just creative, and most of the boys there were gay. I don't know why, but musical theatre seems to attract a high percentage of homosexuals, as does the theatre in general. But not in Iceland. Not in Iceland.
No, not in Iceland.
But it's certainly in musical theatre in the UK. There's a high percentage of gay performers. I suppose I don't want to generalise, but there's a lot of gay people, and there's a famous saying I think in America that Broadway is run by gay men and Jews. So I think that's probably. There's an element of truth in that, but I was 26 when I came out, but I decided after Starlight Express that I wanted to sing more, because singing was where I started.
And then you formed a band.
I formed a band called The Proud Ones.
The Proud Ones.
We're on Spotify.
Oh, I would love to.
We're on Spotify now.
You're on Spotify now?
We went on Spotify last week.
And you did a warm-up for some famous, I don't remember, you told me.
Yeah, we were...
I
think you remember.
No, I don't remember.
No, we opened... We had quite a lot of success, actually. We had a #3 hit in the country music charts. And we opened for David Bowie on his on his world tour.
That's just so you could have finished there,
I could have finished there. I mean, I've definitely had 9 lives.
I was there on the same stage with David Bowie, and
But all of this helps with my choreography. All of the references that I have from different parts of my life, I kind of use. And
and what was his on that time? What year was it?
Oh, this was 1997.
And
so I was 27.
What phase was he on, Bowie? What concert was it?
Oh gosh, I can't remember, because it's like, do you know what? I'm not a David Bowie fan.
Oh,
I mean, I respect and admire, and you know, but you mentioned David Bowie in Iceland, that you've worked with him, and people are like, what?
Yeah.
I suppose, you get the same response in the UK, but I was more interested in musicals, you know, and theatre, and I mean, Bowie is the master of theatre and theatrical. You know, he's amazing. But I just wasn't. I think I was just a little bit too young to have appreciated Bowie at a time when I could have been influenced by his music. I was more influenced by. I mean, the reason I loved doing the Bugby show, the Neo Leaf, was because we had one record player in my room, and my brother was into punk, and he would listen to a lot of Susie and the Banshees and the Buzzcocks and the Skids and some really great music. Whereas on my side, when it was my turn to play the record player, it was Evita and Cats, and you know, it was all the Hello Dolly, you know. So my brother would leave the room, and I'd quickly. But sometimes I would sneak his records on and listen to them, and I was fascinated with them. And I think I got like quite a broad knowledge of music when I was very young.
But and you were in Billy Elliot. In what theatre was it?
Billy Elliot was at the Victoria Palace.
Victoria Theatre. Palace. For how long were you in there?
A long time.
You were a dancer first, and then you.
Yeah. Well,
for how many years were you there?
I was at Billy Elliot for 7 years altogether. And it felt like 5 minutes, really.
Okay.
I was in the show for 3 years. So when they first cast the show, because it was a movie, and I saw the movie of Billy Elliot, and I thought, oh my God, that's my life story. Someone's written my life story. Because it really was. He was 14, he went to London to the Royal Ballet School, and I had a kind of similar trajectory with just knowing what I wanted to do, and coming from an environment which was the same, apart from the fact that I had a very supportive dad and a supportive mum. But Billy Elliot, so I auditioned for that show, was called back and forth to London again. This is what happens on West End musicals. You have about 8 auditions. So you go in for the first time, and then you get a call back, and then a call back, and then a call back. And I was called back for Billy Elliot. Gosh, I was actually on holiday in Mallorca for one of the auditions, and I thought, I've got to go back. So I flew back to London for like 2 days from my holiday, then flew back to my holiday again. But I got in the cab outside my hotel in Mallorca, and they were playing on the radio Swan Lake, the music from Billy Elliot. And I thought, this is a sign. This is a sign. I'm going to get this. But,
and you lifted from the earth, and you started to spin.
I've got the cup. Look, it's a Billy Elliot cup today. So,
this is that is really, you know, a coal miner. You're singing and dancing and acting a coal miner in Billy Elliot.
Well, I was the dance captain in the.
And then you were dance captain.
I was dance captain from the beginning. So the dance captain's in the show. But I was playing a coal miner and a policeman. I was understudying a couple of roles.
And then you were resident
choreographer. They knew that I knew the show really well as dance captain, and they were opening the show in Sydney. And they wanted. I'd been to Sydney before in Starlight Express, so I'd worked there before. But they wanted somebody who really knew the show knew the show inside out and back to front, because they wanted to workshop the show in Sydney, because they wanted that show in Sydney to be the show that then went to Broadway. So they wanted to tweak it from the London production, make it bigger and better. And because in London the show was fantastic. It was a big hit. It was phenomenal. But for Americans, you just need to kind of change it around a little bit, make it a little bit more kind of Broadway in places.
And I just want to just add in, because we are all sucker for famous people, and and you were you became you know Elton John, who made the music for Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
And you've been in parties with Elton John as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's you know that's a story to tell at least.
Well, this was a brilliant thing because I think it was about a week or 2 weeks after Billy Elliot opened in London.
Yeah.
We got such brilliant reviews, and the box office was exploding.
Yeah.
People were queuing up around the block to see it, and it was a big hit.
Yeah.
And because we'd worked so hard on this show, Elton flew all of the cast to his house in the south of France for a weekend.
Okay.
For a big party,
yeah.
which was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And the children in the show as well were invited.
Yeah.
But they were sent to bed at 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And then it became, as you can imagine, a rock and roll, skinny dipping in the sea kind of affair.
Yeah.
It was great fun.
Yeah.
And then we had to fly back to London on the Monday morning and do the show on Monday night. That was the worst show we've ever done.
Okay.
Everyone was green.
So it was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you let's talk about New Leaf, about the musical Bubbi's 9 Lives.
Yes.
Sounds really awful. You did not know. You've not heard any music before you started to work on the show.
What? I mean, we listed the shows that I've done in Iceland before, like Mary Poppins, and the first time I came here, I might have discovered Johanna Gudrun or Paul Oscar.
Yeah.
The next time I came, I discovered someone else, and it just seemed like I'd never heard of Bubby. I hadn't heard of him, and I'm constantly surprised and in awe of how just how much talent there is here. And I'm not using that as a cliche, but every time I come back, I discover more about something that I haven't discovered yet. Yeah. And it was Christian Eystins first asked me about Bubby maybe over a year ago, and so I decided to start listening to his music, and I found, I've said this before in a couple of interviews, that I found listening to my brother's records in the bedroom in the 70s and 80s really helped me tune into what kind of vibe this was, this show. Yeah. And then when I went to, I went for my first meeting with Olli, the director, and I went to his house, and he was showing me videos of documentaries of the music scene in Iceland in the 80s through to the 90s. And I was like, I know what this is. I know what this is. Yeah. I know what this genre is. And New Leaf is not a dance show. It's a show where there's lots of movement. Yeah. It's a little bit like, I don't know, I've done quite a lot of shows where I don't have to put my tap shoes on, and I don't have to make them do double pirouettes and kicks, and you know, and of course it's really interesting for me because every show I do, I like to really put the narrative first, and put the characters first, and really examine why they're dancing, why they're moving, and I'm normally quite strict about making dance an integral part of every show. But with New Leaf, I kind of sat back and allowed the actors in that show to kind of show me a different way of working. And it really worked because they kind of knew, they knew the genre, they knew what would work and what wouldn't work. And it's so embedded in Icelandic culture as well, this show. And I really would not have been able to do this show had I not been here so many times before. And it's only because of what I did. But I do think Icelandic culture has a massive similarity to British culture. I really do.
It must be like
really
that.
Does.
Yeah.
People laugh at the same jokes. They laugh at the same things in shows that I've done in the UK.
Of course, you know the influences is there's a lot of influence from because the pop culture. And the humor. We get a lot of great things from Britain that we involve and devolve. Yeah. So you know, it's not that
There've
different. It's Europe.
A few cultural things that I was interested in doing nearly. For example, I always knew that there'd been a ban on alcohol up until, I don't know what year it was, in the 80s.
89, wasn't it? Yeah.
And that fascinated me.
Yeah.
Because I said, there was one point, I said, oh, just walk across with a couple of beer bottles in your hand. They were like, no, it was banned there. I was like, okay.
Not beer. No, there was a beer ban.
Yeah. So they had the brown paper bags with what they used to drink then.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting working with that group of actors and that creative team.
Yeah.
Just from scratch. Like, you always know when you go, like, for example, doing something like Cabaret or Matilda, there's a blueprint because the show's been done before.
Yeah.
And you kind of know what story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Even though every show that I've done here has been my choreography, it's been my work.
Yeah.
I haven't replicated anything that's been done in Matilda in London or New York. It's always a new way of telling the story. And of course, working with a new director like yourself, you want to tell that story in a different way. And we want to do it bigger and better and make it ours, make it fit this space.
Yeah, and talk to new audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Here in Reykjavik.
Yeah, exactly.
In this year at that time.
Exactly.
And I just want to, we have to finish.
I'm really enjoying this. This is
yeah, me too.
Really
yeah,
good.
me
we
too.
could sit here all day. Sorry if I'm boring you.
How were you at school? Were you good at math?
No.
You were not good at math?
No,
because, you know, when we have been working a lot together, and to see you count in like 3 here, 4 here, 2 here, and not in symmetric.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
That's. I think that's maybe your. That's maybe your forte. That makes you. You know. There. In that one is your brilliance, to you know, let the stage is like balanced.
Yeah.
But the movement is like not, you know, 3 here, and then 4 coming in the middle, and then 2 to left, 2 to right, etc. So I haven't asked you this question before, if you were good
no, I'm not
in
good
math,
at math,
because this is a lot, and also all the countings of the
bars in the score. Yeah.
So
I can read music and I know the score, but I think I just say it in my head.
Yeah.
I say it in my head, and I can't know how many people I've got, and then I kind of. It's more of a feng shui than a mathematical thing, I think.
Yeah, but to remember countings, you know, that's. It's also like that with me, you know. I have really good feeling for balance on stage, and you know, and how to all transition between scenes, and then you know. Then you
that's
have
all
to,
choreography.
You have to tell the truth, of course. Always have to tell the truth. Have to
keep the plates spinning.
Yeah. But to count, to come in to a rehearsal, and I want you 5 from there, 4 from there, and then you come and split. And in bar 52, you lift your feet and check your shoulder. So it's like,
How does he do it? I don't know. I don't know. It's my job.
It's
like I always admire airline pilots, people who can fly a plane.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
You're just good at. You just know what to do.
Yeah.
And we're constantly building airplanes and flying them and see if they fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how I do that. I just have to really know the music, really know the score, but not have it in my hand the whole time, because I want to keep it, you know, a little bit of freedom with it. But no, I don't know how I do that. just a skill, I think.
But you're on your way now to choreograph Oliver in Copenhagen.
Yeah,
that's your next.
Yeah. And then I'm doing a show called 9 in Tokyo. It's a Mari Eston show. Yeah. I've done a couple of his shows, Grand Hotel being one of them.
I've seen a lot of posters from 9, but I don't know it.
It's kind of based around a Fellini film, but it's quite a kind of sexy, misogynistic show.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that. I love going to Japan and working there. Yeah. It's just so wild and different, and really hard work. They work you very long hours there, but I really like it. And then after that, I've got a few things kind of like hovering around, and already next year is starting to fill up a little bit. So I had work cancelled obviously because of the corona. But but hopefully they'll be postponed till next year. Yeah, I was supposed to be doing Jesus Christ Superstar in London, which got stopped, and then so hopefully that'll happen. That was at Southwark Playhouse, where I do a lot of stuff. It's a really trendy venue in London. It's an off-West End theatre. I love it working there. It's a great space. I love working in small spaces. I love the size of this stage here. It's huge. It's brilliant. But I really like intimate, small spaces. Where the cast are literally stood there right in front of you, and you can see every eyelash. I really like that.
Something in the pipes for Iceland?
There's talks. I think I've got a meeting. I've got a meeting straight after this. I think about something. Always something. I'm really hoping people get a chance to see Voravankna.
Me too. It's great.
I was very proud of that show in Akureyri.
Should be.
Really great show. And the cast were just wonderful.
Þá bara segjum við þetta fínt í dag. Þetta var nú gaman. Gaman að sitja hérna í rólegheitunum og spjalla. Þetta var, hvað heitir þetta aftur? Listamannaspjall, Bergur í beinni. Við bara sjáumst aftur síðar. Takk fyrir.